Hi everybody. I've eventually got around to doing El Padon because a lot of people have come onto my channel and said, CC, why have you not reacted to Diana Navarro's El Padon? And I said there'll be a time and a place where I'll want to react. Now, recently there's been a lot of reactions in the last couple of months. It continues to get a lot of reactions and people are always, "Ugh, I'm not one of those reactors, sorry, go to another channel." I'm the person that gives a bit of bio to Diana Navarro for those people because my channel is, since last year and people requesting this song, has grown and grown and grown. Now, I'll give you my interpretation. Diana Navarro is somebody I have featured a lot on my channel. She's somebody I admire, I adore. I think she's got the most incredible octave range, flamenco voice, and even pop voice because she crosses over to that. But she's famous and notoriously famous in Spain for holding the longest note, flamenco note. And I think if you go to YouTube and you look at her video solo, you will get to see a live performance of the song and her holding that particular note. It's quite incredible how her lung capacity can do that. I've also reacted to a video where she was quite intimate with a very handsome male that I've learned was a husband. And I have to say, Diana Navarro, it's no wonder you smile a lot. That's all I can say. But in return, you're equally as you're guapissima, and he is guapo, and together you are beautiful. But it's your voice today, and it's El Padon. We're going to go into a bit of bio, as always, about the song and what it's about. And for the new people to my channel who have subscribed, Diana Navarro is a Spanish singer, rose to fame in 2005 with the single Sola I just talked about from her first album, No Te Olvides de Mi. She was nominated for a Latin Grammy as Best New Artist in 2005. And her songs are usually mixtures of copla, flamenco with different rhythms like Arabic or classical music. And there's a bit of pop in there too. Today's song is poignant. Today's song expresses a woman's refusal. This is what El Padon is about, to grant forgiveness to her former lover for all the ways he hurt and betrayed her. The lyrics list a series of reasons why forgiveness is not possible, including multiple incidents of infidelity, broken promises, emotional manipulation, disrespect, and a sense of ownership over the woman. The singer acknowledges that forgiveness comes from God, but makes it clear that she's not ready to grant it herself. The lyrics of El Padon give an insight into the dynamics of an unhealthy and abusive relationship. The woman is describing a situation where she was repeatedly mistreated and taken advantage of by her partner. The words suggest that the man was using her for his own purposes, while disregarding her needs and wishes. By enumerating all the ways in which he hurt her, she is claiming back her power and refusing to be a victim anymore. The emotional intensity of El Padon, which you're about to hear, is enhanced by Diana Navarro's rich and powerful voice, which conveys a deep sense of pain and defiance. The music is sparse, with a simple guitar accompaniment that highlights the rawness of the lyrics. The repetition of the chorus El Padon serves as a mantra that reinforces the singer's determination not to forgive her abuser. Overall, El Padon is a cathartic and empowering song that speaks to anybody who's been hurt in a relationship. With that as the background, we are in for a very powerful performance. I know that beforehand. So let's listen, because this is my very first time listening to this. Trust me, it is. I don't like listening to Diana Navarro songs and then doing a reaction. So for all the fans that said, CC, please react, today is your day. I give Diana Navarro in 2023, El Perdón, the song that you have requested time and time again for me to do. Let's listen. And then I'll give you my interpretation of the lyrics, as always, my interpretation of them, straight after. Just got to put the volume up.
Por las veces que me engañaste, por los hijos que no me diste, las promesas que no cumpliste y los besos que no sentiste, el perdón. El perdón. Por haberte callado tanto, las mujeres que mantuviste, por los abrazos manipulados, por los enfados descontrolados, el perdón. El perdón te lo da Dios, pero yo no, te lo da Dios, pero yo no. Por creerte que eras mi dueño, manipulando todos mis sueños, enredándome con caricias, engatusándome con mentiras, el perdón. El perdón. Por haberte sentido sucio con el amor que mi amor te daba, despreciándome con silencios, la avaricia tu viva estampa, el perdón. El perdón te lo da Dios, pero yo no, te lo da Dios, pero yo no. Tú te has burlado de mí, ay, tú te has burlado de mí, tú te has burlado de mí, pero ha llegado tu te lo da Dios, pero yo
good God. I have to say, that was it. That had an impact. And they're not false tears, by the way. Well, I can see why people wanted me to react, because I'm very honest in my reactions. I have a lot to say, and I think people of my channel will know that. I was in an abusive relationship. I'm a gay man, but I was in a very violent abusive relationship before my current relationship. My current partner is Spanish, from Bilbao, and before that I was with an Irishman who was extraordinarily abusive, and I permitted it. I don't know why. I look back and I think, why did I put up with that? Why did I put up with his violent outbursts? 1 minute, he always portrayed to people the smile and everything, but behind closed doors he would just throw fits of temper and anger, and I was the recipient of the punches, of the kicks, and I'm a very, very tall, broad man, and he was slim and small and slender, but I allowed it because I felt during that relationship he will see the error of his ways. He will turn around and become that person in my mind that I thought, and I had witnessed during the relationship times where he was exceptionally good and kind, but resorted back to being selfish and violent. But I got out of it. I decided this was worth more, my mentality and my physical appearance, than him. He wasn't worth it. But I'm looking forward to analysing these lyrics now. It's a powerful song sung by an extraordinary performer. It starts, for the first times that you cheated on me, for the children that you did not give me, the promises you didn't keep, and the kisses you didn't feel, the forgiveness. So straight away there's an anger. There's a reflection. And I've been there. Okay, it wasn't about children, but the promises you didn't keep. Always in a relationship like that, I heard personally, don't worry, CC, I'm going to get better. I'm sorry for what I did. I heard sorry so many times. But then what happens is, once they say sorry, it's almost like they forgive themselves. And they just go, okay, I've said sorry, so I'm okay mentally. I've said sorry. That's it. But you're left with the bruise on the eye, or the bruise in the heart, because your heart's starting to break into a million pieces of, what am I loving here? The only person he loves is himself in my situation. And they become selfish because we, the victim, always forgive too easily. We suffer so much from the abuse and the verbal abuse and the violence that we don't want any further upsets. So we always remain silent. And believe you me, we always wish we had done certain things different. I wish in my case I had used this. I think one very violent punch would have got him on the ground, would have made him realize, that is it, you've crossed the line. But the victims don't. We carry on believing there's going to be a better day, a better hour, but we don't realize the selfishness of the perpetrator who does this to us, because they just walk away going, because they just feel once they say it, that's it. But in the situation, you don't see them thinking, or you're not thinking they're thinking like that. You're just a victim and you're trying to heal. So it continues, for having kept you so quiet, the women that you kept, for the manipulated hugs, for the uncontrolled anger, the forgiveness. I can relate to that too. If I told you in this video how many people my ex-partner slept with, Everybody I was ever introduced to in a group, there was one or two people he slept with. He was such a manipulator. He had situations where I would be sitting in, let's say, 6 people. Then there would be us on a table, and he would have slept with all of them. And the boyfriend and the two, let's say we're in couples, 3 couples, the couple didn't know that both of them had slept with him secretly. He was manipulating couples. And I didn't find this out until much later. And I thought, oh my God, what am I with? Even then I should have left. But we were sharing a beautiful apartment, beautiful home. This is what happens to a lot of people. You're in a comfortable situation. You don't want your home broken up. And I just felt, okay, the relationship is shutting down. I'll go into a different room. I'll close the door. That's it. We're separate. But he couldn't accept that, because you know why a perpetrator who's violent and verbally doesn't accept that? Because you've rejected them. And they don't. They can give it, but they don't want that rejection back to them, because they're facing the truth. They're facing, this is what happens when they are what they are. And when you come back to them, they just... So I can relate to that, the uncontrolled anger. And then, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. But I never, like Diana in the lyrics, I never forgave. God gives it to you, she says, but not me. And I'll tell you what that means for me. I don't know how many times I say, I'm not a religious person, but I grew up with religion, of course. Catholicism, parents that went to church, all of it. Traditional, going to church, didn't believe, didn't like being inside a church. Soon as I stopped, that was it. But I have a private faith. And it said God gives it to you. What does God give it to you? God gives you, this is my answer to this. He's supposed to give you happiness, peace of mind, prosperity and love in a person at some point in your life. And she said, but not for me. No, not for me. Also, what does God give you? He gives you the answer to your prayers. And I was always like, God, just sort him out. Just do something for him. But my prayers were never answered. Because when a perpetrator and a victim, when a perpetrator has victimized so many people and just said sorry, as I said, he forgives himself. So he just walks away going. And you, the victim, are left with the broken heart, the broken nose, the broken words, all of it. So God doesn't give it to you. But he always seems to bless, doesn't he, the person who does the crime. It continues, for believing that you are my owner, manipulating all my dreams, entangling me with caresses, coaxing me with lies, the forgiveness. I've been there. I don't know how many times I heard, I'm sorry. Oh, I booked us a holiday. And it is from my many years experience of systematic abuse. It's mind over matter. They love to manipulate. They love to break you down. They love to be in control. No sooner was my ex-partner, his name I would love to say, but for legal reasons I cannot. But he used to just walk out the door and, believe it or not, go down the lift and my neighbour's partner, female, would go off to work. She was a nurse. And he would go into the apartment to have pleasure with my neighbour, who was bisexual. It's quite incredible. The minute he left the apartment in the morning, then he'd go to work. And at work, there was an occasion where I went. From the security man to the people in the office, to the people he had drinks with after, and I had accompanied him on this a celebration work event. I couldn't believe how many people. And he'd always come back and I'd say, how was your day? And if I asked too many questions, and how's Stephen, by the way? Why'd you ask about Stephen? Oh, just, when I was talking to him, I don't want to talk about him. If you went too close to the nerve, they'd react. Outburst, violence. Look, me and Stephen had a thing. I heard this kind of similar story. It meant nothing. Blah, blah, blah. And you'd listen. And yet I would sit and forgive. Because I was reared by my parents to always forgive. Believe it or not, it's psychology it's the psychology of your environment, your growing up, your beliefs. And I was always led to believe if you forgive, you will go to the next step. Because my parents would say, me and your father are not perfect. We always work things out. So in my mind, I was always working things out. Who is this person? How can I help him? What can I do? But his trousers were down at his ankles 24 hours a day. And I went into what was the spare room and I started to live a separate life and said no more. Then the violence came. Then the forgiveness came. Please forgive me, please forgive me, please forgive me. Always seeking forgiveness so they could feel better. And I started to say no. So it continues, for having felt dirty with the love that my love gave you, despising myself with silences, greed is your living picture. The forgiveness. That is so true, because what happens in these situations, the love that you gave. I despise myself for never being angry, never being as violent as him, and hitting out and saying, damn you to hell for making me feel like this. There was times I went to work with bruises and on my neck, he was always careful never the face. That when he struck, it was behind the head or the ears. And it was becoming so crazy that I stepped back and I started packing. I started giving my stuff away. I gave all my clothes to charity. I started stripping all the room of my stuff. I started giving everything away and I broke everything down. And you know what he did? He went away and bought, we were renting at the time, a different apartment, and moved in a guy who he said was just a work colleague. And not even 5 minutes from the apartment I was leaving. And I just thought, wow, all he had to do was just move. And yet, right up to the day before I was leaving, he was begging me to stay. Why? Think about it. He had bought an apartment I didn't know until later, moved in with this guy, but yet was finishing the time with me every day saying, sorry, I want to be with you. Crazy, no? And then the forgiveness. God gives it to you, but not for me. Well, God didn't give it to me. You made fun of me, but your end has come. God gives it to you, but not for me. The end did come for him, because I said goodbye and I went on and I've met my current partner from Spain. I've had 16 years of wonderful happiness. Gracias, señor, por todo. Pero bueno, I've moved on. And if you're in the situation, you have your feet, move forward. Don't accept anybody that Diana is singing about or anybody I have talked about in your life ever. Ever. That's my advice.